Chairperson Ramann, welcome to Aspire 2026. Thank you for sparing your time for us today. Uh, just to share, we have interacted in the past on the AIF committee, and I've always been struck by your soft-spoken but fairly firm style of talking. And I mean, when you spoke, people used to listen. And if I may share with the audience, the pension sector will need this attention to detail and dynamism that the chairperson brings. And we have seen a spate of reforms since the time that he has taken over. The reason it is so important is that by 2047, 1 in 5 Indians will be a senior citizen and will be needing pension. And the pension assets are at 40 lakh crores between EPF, NPS and the others that exist, is a fraction of India's GDP. Globally, the pension assets are a multiple of the GDP. And one possible reason for this is probably because a lot of attention was paid to the accumulation phase, but not enough attention was paid to the pension or the annuity phase of the of the entire pension discussion. And I think, therefore, the spate of reforms that are happening is going to benefit the pension sector and the country as a whole. And that, Chairperson, brings me to the first question. One of the reasons touted for the relatively lower adoption of NPS is this need for 40% compulsory annuitization, and this at a time, when the subscriber had no idea what the eventual pension will be. There was no target pension. It's a defined contribution plan. And, that's where this consultation paper that PFRDA put out in September of 2025 under your leadership. And I read through those 3 very innovative and novel pension products that are mentioned there. And I'm sure people in the audience probably know about it. All the 3 products addresses a very important behavioral aspect, which is the fact that all 3 have a targeted pension. I mean, one of them is non-guaranteed, 2 of them are guaranteed, one of them even has an inflation adjustment that is guaranteed. Those are very novel and unique ideas with, very little, what shall I say, precedence, at least in India. Given that, would you explain? I mean, even I had great difficulty in understanding those products, and I can't claim I have understood them completely. Maybe if you could explain what this will mean for NPS subscribers, and how will things roll out if those consultation paper is actually implemented.
Thank you, Mr. Roongta, and it's my pleasure to be here amongst all of you. It's a community which, as I was telling Mr. Roongta, that I have not interacted with, but I think the moment I landed up at PFRDA, I realized the importance of advice. And this is, life advice, this is, planning of your future, and that has to start early on in life. It just so happened that 14 years ago, I actually saw the birth of the investment advisor regulations while I was still at SEBI, and it was an interesting, a debate that took place at SEBI whether something called investment advisor should even exist. And I think it was the chairman, Mr. Bhave, who insisted that if India is to become a developed nation, finally you have to have somebody fighting on the side of the customer. And it is therefore the investment advisor alone who should be on the side of the customer. Otherwise, everybody in every other financial service is on the side of the manufacturer. So I think, I'm really glad to be able to, see all of you here. My only question to him was, are you making money? The fact that all of you are here, I presume things are going well, but I think it's also a function of the way the economy is building. And I think we are therefore, looking at a much, much bigger economy, brighter economy, and that much more financial products that need to come in. Very quickly, Roongta Sahab, there are ideas that have been put out. We have only one aim. The aim is to make pension payments happen to the citizens of India. Till now, let me be very blunt, the entire pension landscape within NPS has been about government and government subscribers or employees' pension. Very little thought really was given to the non-government sector. And I think if we are to become Viksit Bharat, you're talking about 60 to 80 crore people who will be working in variety of segments, different income groups. What about their pension? All we have done till now is take care of government, state government, central PSUs, etc. But all of them add up to 1.5 crore people. That's it. So we as PFRDA, my sort of, humble submission to all of you is that we have not done our job vis-a-vis Bharat, vis-a-vis the country. And that is really what we intend to do. And therefore, how to give pension payout products which are in competition to annuity. So let us be very clear, there's nothing wrong with annuity. If I give a challenge to all of you, you're intelligent, smart, financially literate people, create an annuity, you'll probably end up coming up with a product which looks very much like what we have today. Maybe you'll, give a 40, 50 basis points better return than what is happening today. These are difficult products because an annuity has uncertainty of life. Our aim, therefore, and given the fact that the PFRDA Act mandates an annuity, it does not mandate how much of an annuity it should be. So recently we have reduced the amount of annuity for the non-government sector from 40% to a minimum of 20%. The fact remains, we need to create competitive products. We need to get the best of the brains of this country to create these products. What we put out in the consultation paper is really a sample of what could be done. The first model is extremely simple. It's basically a systematic unit redemption or a systematic payment rate. That product is virtually ready. I suspect that in a couple of months it should be out in the market. What it will effectively do is cause the pension funds to hold money on behalf of the subscribers, not just for 35 years, but for maybe another 25 to 30 years. Our aim is that you remain in the NPS system till the age of 85, and that's now the new age that has been put in. I suspect most of you will outlive the NPS system, so maybe we can even increase the age as time comes. But the NPS system has the best flexibility that I have seen. I need to share one fundamental thought with all of you. It's not just a thought, but it's in the Income Tax Act. NPS is not a capital asset. I have enough number of questions to me that what is the capital gains on tier 2, what is it that will happen to the remaining 20% if I don't take 40% but I only take 20% as annuity. Pension is an income. A pension account is income. It's not a capital asset. Therefore, in the entire calculation within the NPS system, you will not see the word capital gains tax, because it does not exist by definition of the Income Tax Act. And therefore, we are talking about income flows. Your income flows, you will best determine based on your stage of life and your total income and wealth. You will have to learn to apportion it in the most tax efficient manner. The NPS system allows you that entire flexibility. So moving from a very simple systematic unit redemption, where it's basically built into the fact that you will keep some part of your money in an asset allocation that is beyond GSECs. Because if you look at the way annuities are created, there is no inflation indexation, and the entire money is kept only in GSECs. We need to move beyond that. And therefore, we have looked at other innovative methods. And the third model, which he mentioned, talks about the concept of payouts being given out so many years, X years ahead for a specified period. The simplest form is what we've written out, saying that if I invest money today, I should be able to get a particular sum of money every month for a period of 12 months. Let's say that is 100 rupees per month for 12 months. I have to put in some X today for me to realize that 100 rupees. We are talking about simple products. We're talking about products that make sense to customers. And because these are target-based products, we can also think of the concept of a secondary market where I have bought into a product today, call it a pension credit. If I'm not happy with it or I want to exit, I can easily sell it in the secondary market because it forms a bond curve. It's essentially a payout that is given to a person for certain fixed amount of money at the end of a particular period of time. So, there's a lot of financial engineering, there's a lot of modeling that is now underway. We have a committee under Dr. M.S. Sahu, who many of you may recognize. He was a whole-time member at SEBI and then became chairman of IBBI. We have experts working with him, and therefore, very simply put, we need to create more products. We need to create products to suit different pockets, and we need to have a pension for the non-government sector. That is really the aim, and that's what we will do.
So I think when we were chatting, he did tell me that, ARIA, RIA members, Mr. Ravi Saravgi has been also been involved. So it was a proud moment for us that our profession is involved in probably something that will change the face of India. A pension for every Indian citizen is something that will change the face of India. But Chairperson, coming back to this products that you spoke about, I mean, it's clearly there that anything that's guaranteed is popular. I mean, that's very clear. I mean, you look at the government pension sector, there has been that demand, and now it's been converted into a unified pension scheme with guaranteed pensions. Atal Pension Yojana, I mean, 7.5 crore subscribers. I mean, that's 5 times the total number of subscribers that NPS has, although the quantum is not sort of very large. So I think it basically a guaranteed pension, and obviously the risk pools to be able to guarantee that, I think, is the key. The risk the guarantee that will take care of the longevity risk, the investment risk, the sort of inflation risk. Do you think in the Indian ecosystem, okay, if you, if you take out the government, okay, is there scope for a risk pool being developed? Maybe the pension funds, maybe the subscriber. Essentially, the first product is where the subscriber is taking the risk. Do you think there can be some sort of a risk sharing that will enable a guaranteed pension product in the near future?
No, I mean, it's a great question. And frankly, I have spent, my time at CMD SIDBI. I was also what is known as looking after the CGT MSC. That's the Credit Guarantee Trust for Small and Micro Enterprises. It has nothing to do with individuals, but the fact is that it is the largest guarantee system in India by far and probably across Asia. I have therefore understood the concept of pooling of risk very well, having, sort of completely rehauled that entire structure. It can be done, but there is a cost. And really it is about our ability to price the risk properly. Now, pooling of risk is a very, very difficult concept. And pooling of risk typically happens when there is an uncertainty about how long to continue that product. So as I said, the first easier step is to get into a product where we do not have uncertainty, but we can certainly look at micro guarantees at that level where there is some kind of a market guarantee or there is a pool of money which is available within the pension funds, and therefore there's some kind of a mutual guarantee concept. So these things have to be explored, but I think the time has come for us to actually get into it and see whether it is possible to do so. But asking for the sovereign to come and guarantee, because the examples you took are both guaranteed by the sovereign. That is something which, as a country of this magnitude, at the current kind of fisc levels that we have, is probably asking much, but all the developed countries, it is the sovereign that is actually guaranteeing the pension of the citizen.
Absolutely. And
so let's hope that Viksit Bharat brings that.
I mean, it should, and I think all of us are aware that, the longevity risk, apart from the investment risks, the longevity risks is something that's quite large, and we've seen that play out in Europe, in UK. One reason why the World Cup shifted from the UK to India in 1987 was also because of the longevity and the loss of Prudential as a sponsor. Actually it brings me to the next sort of question that, as you yourself said, that the NPS has basically been focused on the government, and that is the reason the all citizens model is only about 43 lakh, about 25% of the subscriber base, about 66,000, 5% of the subscriber base actually. And, elsewhere globally, three factors drive adoption of pension sector, right? Compulsory, compulsory participation. You have to participate. You have to compulsorily contribute. Tax breaks for contributing, and strong disincentives from, coming out early. Now, the first two don't exist for NPS at least, right? There is no compulsory participation. There are no strong tax breaks. There are some, not very strong. In that context, what do you see as, going forward, the role of NPS?
So world over, I think we've moved away from mandatoriness of contribution.
Okay.
I think a lot of you are probably aware of the statement of Mr. Arun Jaitley in the 2016 budget, where he ardently made a sort of proposal for a choice between EPF and NPS. It never took off. We do not want to have NPS becoming another sort of, hostile kind of body where the entire concept of how government behaves, the rent seeking by government apparatus, I think we are now moving beyond a government system which enforces upon the citizen, because it hasn't really worked. And I think the entire EPF system is one where the corporates have really now taken it up, and they are protesting that there is a huge cost to the corporate for paying out an administrative fee to the EPFO. what are the gains to the subscriber is the only lens that we have to look at. Is 8.2% year on year sufficient? An NPS, the best of the NPS equity returns in a 5 to 7 year period, it's obviously you can choose your start date and end date, but it ranges anywhere between 16 to 19%. The most conservative NPS allocation, which is for the government sector, is giving you a 9.3% return for the last 14 years, year on year. So I think we have to leave it to the customer to choose. Finally, he is the person who has to take a call. All of you are there to present the facts to the customers. I think there's a lot that this community has to do to put facts on the table and allow for rational choice to come in. We do not, I think, wish for mandatoriness in NPS. NPS has grown on a voluntary basis. We have kicked off, in fact, as we speak, it's probably another 2 weeks. There are very large digital platforms that we have created. One is with what is known as the BSC Star, which I think all of you are very conversant with. You are now going to have a Star NPS. The entire structure which you have with the MFDs on one side and the mutual funds on the other side, we can now think of the MFDs, or frankly any person, including yourselves, to be on that one side, and you have the pension funds on the other side. So it's really a choice for the subscriber to choose his pension scheme and invest in it. And it's as seamless a system because the same BSC Star guys are creating it. The second one is something that's coming up with NPCI, where we are creating some sort of a platform for the TPAPs, that is the Google Pay, the Phone Pay, Bheem, etc. All of us are on UPI. Our biggest challenge is onboarding of customers onto NPS. Today, we've probably put enough money on the table. I'm saying there's 100 rupees for onboarding, which somebody will get if it's on a digital platform. And there's 200 rupees if it is on a non-digital face-to-face method. There is a 0.2% distribution fee, which concerns none of you. But the fact remains that there is an incentive for a larger distribution system. How you people interact with it, we will work on that, because I believe that this is an important community which has a lot of ability to say the right thing. But this particular NPCI platform will ensure that 90 crore people who are currently using UPI have the ability to be nudged and pushed towards NPS. After that, it's a matter of the right information, the right returns, and the understanding of the NPS structure, where 4 times a year you can switch schemes without absolutely no tax incidence. So I think, number of features within NPS, I myself, frankly, today I'm quite conversant with it, but when I landed in June of 25, I had no idea what this system was about and how flexible and actually customer friendly it is. It's for us to really bring that to the customer, which is really the larger point.
So at least one person who is going to be extremely happy is Kavita. I don't know where she is, right? I mean, no tax incidents, if you do this. But, the chairperson was quite polite about what former finance minister had said in his 2015 budget speech. He had said that EPFO, and I don't have to be necessarily polite. I mean, he had said that EPFO and ESIC do not have subscribers, they have hostages, right? And so I completely agree with you, sir, about the fact that it should not be made compulsory. But sir, this portability that was promised in 2015, and there hasn't been any movement. Is there a chance that there could be some movement in that, and then I will come back to the second
So
issue.
the law is very clear. Anyone more than 15,000 is not mandatorily in EPFO. You are an excluded employee, and I think all of us know the law. It's just that how do you deal with the people who are, behind the system under in the EPFO? I suspect things will sort out. I mean, a lot of things have become much better in our country. I think we are on the path towards, financial literacy, awareness. I think this is really where it will, grow, and we will end up seeing a much better space. But I think what's very important is that all of us need every product. So I, for one, will never say, don't put your money in EPF. If it's good for you, please put your money in it. Put your money in a term life insurance first. Put your money in NPS. So I think the ability for us to create building blocks, create aspirational targets for every kind of segment. In fact, the reason why we are now going out into the country in a large way is that we must have the farmer also coming into NPS. We need the gig worker in NPS. And finally, if you ask me, we need every SHG lady to come into NPS. And that is really when we will see 50 to 60 crore people holding a pension account.
And I think I just want to go back to something, Chairperson, that you had mentioned about the role that RIAs can play. And while we were chatting outside, one of the things, in fact, I think in the room, all the RIAs in the room, how many of your clients, tell us if how many of your clients have NPS or you have to deal with NPS, right? So you can see, Chairperson, the fair number have to deal with NPS, and yet, as we were telling you, we are handicapped by the fact that there is no recognition within the NPS system of RIAs, which, like now you are going to recognize in BSE Star, maybe the other platforms like NSE or MFU or the other platforms that exist, the ability of registered investment advisors, would that be possible? Where we don't want the 0.2%. I think by, genetics, we don't really want a commission. But we want to be able to facilitate, initiate transactions for our clients, and with their approval, those transactions should happen.
So my answer is yes. I mean, the data flow is already in my head, so it's a matter of just translating it very easily. So you'll basically become the initiators of what we call as the eNPS journey.
Absolutely.
And that's something which at the other end, the NPS trust has been designated as the custodian for the eNPS customers.
Absolutely.
So I think that's an easy thing to put through. It's just a matter of time. I'm sure we will do it. Rest assured, it's an easy solution.
So that's a pretty large announcement there, and I think we must thank you for this promise. You just mentioned gig workers, and with the Social Security Code having been notified, we will see now movement in a pension product for gig workers. What role do you see NPS playing in a pension product? Do you see co-contributions from the platforms? What exactly
in fact,
will pan out?
I must say I'm very impressed with what we call as the platform owners. So if, I am the delivery boy, Zomato is the platform owner. They have actually come out, and I think the number today is maybe over 1.2 lakh delivery persons are already in the NPS system. There is Zomato, there is Urban Company, and now I think Uber, and a lot of others who are waiting in line. But these companies have already started the onboarding process. And Zomato was first off the ground, so I think the larger numbers lie with Zomato. So the aim is really to ensure that the payment system flowing from the platform owner to the gig worker, the some part of that payment will get sliced off and go into the NPS account. And that is with the consent of the delivery person. So that has already started. And it's just a matter of making that habit. I think
Right.
that, formation of habit is so important. So I would think that we should see a much higher uptake of gig workers coming into this space. And it's not just a delivery space, but I would say the security workers, there's a whole, retinue of people who are now coming into this concept of a gig worker. So it's something which is easy. And again, we are benefited by the fact that the digital flows, when you deal with them, everything becomes, ready to scale.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really the good part.
So I think that is a pretty big thing. I mean, in reaching that target of pension for all by 2047. Now that is gig workers. How about somebody higher up in the scale? People like us, professionals, right? Today, there is no. I mean, for people like us, the tax breaks also matter. And elsewhere in the world, those tax breaks are available. Is there a chance that something similar could happen? I know you don't run tax, but I'm asking in concept.
But one thing I must say is that I think our country has progressed and graduated to a very mature level where in the new tax regime, there is not a single financial product that is favored or disfavored. And I think that's the right way. You cannot get into a financial product based on tax arbitrage. That's really not, the philosophy of getting into saving products. Having said that, I think it's the corporate NPS which is the only benefit in the new tax regime. So a lot of people are recognizing that benefit, so that is seeing a lot of traction. My own sense is that in the old tax regime, the entire set of benefits still exist. And a lot of people, especially of your stature, would end up probably coming into the old tax regime. So I honestly believe there is a lot of tax benefit available in the overall NPS system. But going forward, if more and more persons, I was told that 72% of the persons are now under the new tax regime.
Absolutely.
So if that's the case, fine. I mean, I think it's a matter of the pension funds making sure that their customers are served well. If these kinds of returns are ensured, and for which we have also now set up another committee, because my long-term plan is really to try and ensure that the investable assets start becoming more diversified. So we've already allowed gold and silver in a very small manner. We've allowed VC and private equity to be invested in through AIFs. But what about the next 10 years? So we've set up a committee with some experts where we're looking at what is it that we can invest in as a NPS family, whereby we can still sustain the kind of double-digit returns that we've been able to give till today. In a scenario where we all know that the GSEC is going to go down, the yields are going to go down continuously. So we have to look at a larger number of asset classes. Pension funds worldwide have done this already. We need to learn from them. We need to understand better the risk-reward return. So I think we're on the right path. We should be able to, from a competitive point of view, with all the benefits that already exist in the NPS system, and the fact that we should have a set of pension payouts that are also available, I think the cradle to grave concept of NPS is probably here to stay.
It's probably going to work. Just zooming out a little bit, and when we started, I mentioned that, globally, the pension assets are a multiple of that country's GDP. In our case, it is, I think, only at 20% or so. What do you think by 2047? What's your vision? Shall we be able to reach, something similar, where our pension assets are a multiple of the GDP? And what role would NPS sort of be playing in that evolution?
It's a great question, and it's speculative entirely. But I'm just saying that our own conservative estimates within PFRDA is that in the next 4 to 5 years we should be seeing 3 times of the current AUM. So today, if we are 17 trillion, you're roughly saying 45 to 50 trillion. 2047 projections, in fact, the committee is already, sort of working on that. The numbers are, more than 100% of GDP for sure. So I would say that if the developed world is looking in a particular way today, if that's the kind of contours, India should certainly be on similar lines. We still in 2050 would have a not so old population. It will only be 20% which is greater than 60.
Correct.
So, we have still got the benefit of that demographic dividend. So I think the scope for the pension assets to grow is even greater.
So, before we let you go, and we've run out of time, what would be the thing you would tell our profession? Okay, because I think planning for retirement is one of the key things that we do for all our clients, right? One of the ways to do it is NPS, but would you say that planning should be done on a more comprehensive basis? How exactly? What is the message for us?
No, I'm the last one to teach you your job, but I'm just saying it is vital for you to know the entire retinue of products. I think that is really critical, because if there are newer products coming into the horizon, it's something that you must know. I mean, the fact that you would have HNI clients who probably may even want to go into an AIF, that is equally important for you to be able to advise your clients upon. So how you visualize that entire basket of wealth and where you are slotting each segment, it's obviously going to be bespoke for every single person. But I think an understanding of the nitty-gritty of each product is very critical. And I'll just highlight the fact that in the NPS system, we long ago created the concept of a life cycle product. When you look at it, I think it's one of the most brilliantly designed products. You may not think that it's providing that kind of return, but if you really look at it across 35 years of a person's accumulation stage, it actually brings out from a conservative to an aggressive life cycle product. And I think it's something to be studied and understood, because it brings out an asset allocation based on age, which is one proxy for risk and an appetite for risk. It certainly is changing, because even at 60, we find people bringing in a large amount of money coming from a superannuation fund and coming into NPS saying, we are willing to be invested for another 15 years. So obviously people have multiple sources of revenue and income. And I think it's really for you to be able to decide that at a particular stage, what is it that is truly your disposable income? That income you do not need, put it at a higher risk asset, and for the remaining, be a little more conservative. But I think you know your job better than I do.
So there, I think we have it from the chairperson himself. I think the role that we will play as advisors in deciding how a particular client's retirement will sort of pan out and what role every product will play. I think that is important. It was really illuminating for a lot of us. We spoke about the novel and unique products that you are coming out, the spate of reforms that are taking place. Importantly, the gig workers getting enrolled, and that's very, very sort of heartening. Our role and our ability to initiate transactions for our clients, I think That really for us is a game changer. And I think the vision that you have about India's pension assets also exceeding our GDP by 2047, I think that bodes very, very well for that target of pension for every Indian citizen by 2047. We wish you all the best in this journey. We are actually wishing ourselves all the best. So thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for sparing the time, and really glad.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.